our final new speaker of the morning here, Wayne. I'll now ask Wayne to come up here. Is the president, CEO, founder, purchaser, original creator of Blacklands Railroad, and they are presence in Churchill County as Blackwell Terminals. They're a seat of business council member who is looking to expand their operations here. And when it comes to logistics and supply chain, I'm keying in on that slide that you had, George, where it showed the new hay and how it was just the smallest of improvement on the slide. And in a larger, maybe more urban economy and such, that'll be absorbed. But in a rural area like ours, a community like ours, as I like to say, one space or one person can transform the entire community. And a little bit of leverage like that can transform it as well. So I'm going to turn over to Wayne here to talk about what he does on the supply chain side, logistics side. I did promise to, I tell him I've known Wayne for almost a year, just a couple months short maybe. And how he got into owning his own railroad is he worked for the railroad, he liked trains, and about 20 years ago he bought a railroad, and I thought that was pretty neat because I would do the same thing. I had that kind of cash flow. So here you are, Wayne.
All right. Thank you. Good morning. Hopefully, I'm kind of a loud talker, at least that's what my wife says, so I don't know if I'll use this very much or not, but first of all, I'd like to thank Nate and his crew for putting this together. I think this is real important. Hopefully by the time I get done speaking here, you'll realize our connections, and we've got a lot of them, sitting here listening to everybody, because our headquarters currently is in Sulphur Springs, Texas, and that used to be, years ago I know that, it used to be the dairy capital of the country, because it had so many dairies per capita there. In Hopkins County, it was actually Hopkins County, Texas. So I've been in Texas about 20 years, and that's where I started up my business. But I'm originally from Kansas City, grew up in Kansas City. My father was a railroader, and so that's kind of how I come by the railroading part of it. But and also my disclaimer for me here today is because I've had a lot of coffee this morning, so that's my only disclaimer. So and also keep in mind, as all these statistics and so forth, I really believe it. Statistics, everybody says they don't lie, but it's between us, right? It's the individual that makes this stuff happen. So, failures and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to be one of those, and I hope nobody in this room will be one of those. So keep that in mind. That's pretty, as far as I'm concerned, it's an individual situation when it comes down to your companies and your farms and so forth. But anyway, excuse me. Been in the railroad business about 20 years now. We decided to come out here. We have an operation, and almost all these statistics touched us too. So we have an operation in Odessa, Texas. Excuse me, I kind of got a frog in my throat here. And then out there, what we move for the Union Pacific is frac sand. And what's frac sand? That's oil, right? So the fracking business, I watch the price per barrel, right? Because that affects my business out there. So when the price per barrel goes up, we want it to stay up. Obviously, we would like it to stay up because that continues to promote fracking and oil exploration and dollars per barrel and all that kind of thing, right? So we watched that. When I just got through in Sulphur Springs, Texas, just last week talking to a farmer there, said that this year in Texas, the corn crop's not going to be so good because we've had a really wet spring. Crops didn't get in. So therefore what that means to me is there's going to be more corn coming out of the Midwest, Iowa, Illinois maybe, and even up there I know the crop was kind of late. So that just means more inbound. My customers in that area, on that railroad there, they're going to be bringing in more corn for their because we supply a co-op there that, and some of you may even know, Northeast Texas Farmers Co-op. They're one of our customers, and so I'm in touch with those people all the time, and so it makes a big deal to us. Like I said, I'm watching that stuff all the time too. I read the articles just about the guy in Minnesota. I read that article the other day. So that affects us too. So we have a lot, I think, in common. And Professor Harris there, I think, coined a pretty good word here, back linkage. I think we have a lot of that with people here in this community. Not that we haven't really even got started here yet, but I was out on a dairy farm just yesterday. Great experience. I mean, I didn't grow up on a dairy farm, but you'll come to find out, I think railroaders and farmers have a lot in common because it's 24/7. It's hard work, it's hot work, it's cold work. So there's a lot of similarities there. I know a lot of farmers. My wife's from Iowa, and so her cousins do a lot of crop farming up there. So we talk to them every once in a while. We joke about working on the railroad, and it's the same as working on the farm. I mean, it's hard work, and everybody has to be involved, and it's a heck of a job. So, but we all try to make it work, of course. But the back linkage here is we think Black Gold Terminals, by coming to this area, and one of the reasons we came to this area is because what moves better by rail than feed, crops, it's a bulk commodity, right? And just until, and this is Drew Rochley, he's my terminal manager here in Reno. He lives in Reno. He's been here about a year now, yep. Right? And him and Nate have worked really closely together, because I tell you, I didn't know there was this many dairies in this area when we came out here, and farms. And I don't want to leave out the beef cows, all that. I mean, and we're like, well, where are they getting the grain from, and how's this working? And so we think that we can help a lot of the people in this area, because y'all know that transportation costs off of your feed, your grain, that goes strictly to the bottom line, right? There's no talking to the dairy farmer here yesterday. It's like he's trying to figure out how to get another half a pound out of a cow. I mean, and we're talking minutes. I mean, it's all about your recipes, and man, there's a lot of stuff involved in a dairy farm. But if we can cut your costs to inbound your grain and whatever you need to feed, that's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Now, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee all that, because it varies a lot. But we feel like our situation where we can bring competition, which is Union Pacific and Burlington Northern Santa Fe, to those inbound products, I think we could probably really help out in that regard. Let's put it that way. And so again, we touch a lot of the things coming in. We also, as a railroad, we have an operation in Sulphur Springs, Texas, an 80-mile short line, 12-mile short line in Henderson, Texas. We also have an operation in Odessa, Texas, one up and near Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then this one here, of course. And then we spot wind trains, which is like the windmills in Texas. There's a lot of windmills. I'm not sure about Nevada if there's a lot of windmills up here, but that's the going rage right now. And so we spot a lot of trains off the Union Pacific of the wind components, the blades, the generators, all that kind of stuff. So again, we're a small operation more or less, but we touch a lot of these commodities, a lot of these things. Ethanol was brought up here. We transload ethanol for customers. I mean, again, back to the back linkage. I think we have a lot of that with a lot of people in this area. Let's put it that way. So, and we hope that we can really help, like I said, especially in the feed grains and so forth, that we can help reduce your operating costs by reducing those inbound costs there. So, but anyway, so I've been in the railroad business for 20 years, and sometimes here I'm all over the map. So please excuse me, but I've been doing this for 20 years. So, and I'm no expert by any means, but I started off 20 years ago, and my wife will tell you, I came home from work one day. I had a real job, and came home from work, and I'm no millionaire, so don't think I didn't lay out no money to buy a railroad. I started from the ground up, and I'm a certified railroad engineer. I could go out and move a train if I have to, which I do on occasion. Not nowadays, not very often, but that's how I started the business, from the ground up. I mean, it was me, one other guy, and a locomotive. And so now we have we're not huge, we have about 35 employees, give or take, spread out through all those operations. And so And just like you all, and that's my Texas. I've been in Texas 20 years, so I say a few you alls every once in a while. But someday my son just got into business with me about a year ago, or a year and a half ago now. And so, again, just like a lot of these dairies here and these farms, you pass it on, and that's kind of how it works, which is a good thing, I think. So, but anyway, Drew here, he'll speak here in just a second, but he's done a lot of work here in this area, just because he has to develop the customer base, find out who's here. Just like these, I didn't know there was 20 dairies within the Fallon area. I mean, there's no way I knew that. So, and Drew found that out through Nate, just in their discussions, and they're talking to customers and finding out what's going on. So we feel like, and we also feel like Northern Nevada is growing, of course, and people coming over from California, the people up there in like Tesla and all the employment coming this way. There should be housing, building houses and all that kind of stuff. So again, we feel like we can provide the local rail service that the Union Pacific that zips through the state can't necessarily, and they don't want to. I mean, they're a wholesaler. We're the retailer. We try to be the retailer to work with people and to say, hey, what can we do? The railroad is the cheapest form of land transportation anywhere, right? So it's all about bulk and it's all about volume. And so we, again, with the we hope with the dairymen, the cattlemen, or whatever, we can somehow put everybody together here and say, hey, instead of buying 2 rail cars of corn, let's buy 50, put it in storage, and you come get it when you want it. I mean, that kind of thing. I mean, that's pretty oversimplified, but there's that opportunity there, I think, right? Is to put everybody together in a buying situation where you buy with volume, you're buying with some power versus individually. So, and then we bring it in. We have the locations to bring it in and either store it for you until you need it, or we offload it right into your trucks and you take it to your farm. Something like that too. So, so there's a lot. I think there's a lot of opportunity to work with everybody here. And even though we're a railroad, I think we have a lot of similarities. And railroad, from the standpoint of, we have a couple of short lines, and that's the Union Pacific, just a whole lot shorter. If we fall under, just like all you dairymen and cattlemen, we have a lot of regulations we have to adhere to, federal regulations when it comes to the FRA, how we train our people, our equipment, I mean, on and on and on. So again, there's a whole lot of similarities, and the more I watched all this morning, which was really, really interesting, the more connections I could see with all that stuff. So, but anyway, I think, like I said, I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and we hope to capitalize on it. We're here to assist and make that work as best we can for people. And if you have any questions about railroads and how that works, we're pretty much in. Drew here has, before I hired him, he's been here about a year, so we hired him from the BNSF out of California. And he worked for the BNSF for about 4.5 years, so he's got a lot of good background. We know railroads really well. That's our background. That's what we do. We've got a lot of experience there, so don't hesitate to give Drew a call or me a call or whatever when it comes to anything about rail and can you get it cheaper, can we help, that kind of thing. How do you do this? We should know most of those answers, and if we don't, we'll find them out for you. So anyway, I'll let Drew speak here a minute on how him and Nate kind of got this rolling, and I think had a good help get this whole thing here today. And one other thing too is I think this is a great. I told Nate earlier, this is the inaugural dairy summit, right? I mean, because I think this is why it happens. Obviously, everybody's got their own individual farms. Everybody does their own thing, but it's good to know, and where somebody like us possibly can help the group do some things and do some help them reduce their costs if that's all possible, and we're here to do that. So thank you very much. We'll have some questions here in a minute, but I'll let Drew speak for just a second here and explain what he's done here while he's been here.
Well, good morning. I think we still have a few more minutes left in the morning. As Wayne said, I'm Drew. I'm with Black Gold Terminals, and I am our local liaison for this area. If you guys came from anywhere other than Fallon, you probably passed us on the way in. We're on Highway 50 alternate, kind of right there on the Churchill County line. As Wayne said, there's a lot of opportunity in this area. We're excited to be here. We want to be an asset to the community, and obviously grain and feed is what we're talking about today, but it's more than that. We can do diesel fuel, we can do building materials, you name it, the railroad can help you do it. And we want to be a friend to the community. We want to be able to help. If you guys have problems, we are professional problem solvers. We want to help you guys figure it out. And we also, you know, even for those of you guys who are doing rail, I know there's some in the room who are already getting feed via rail. We have the space, we have the capacity, we have the railroad knowledge to move those cars faster than anyone else in this area, and also to actually help you get to them and not just let them sit in sparks like they do right now a lot of times. I really don't want to take up too much of your time. I know there might be some questions out there, maybe not, but we really just want to make ourselves available. If there's anything we can do to help you all in any way, I hope you will reach out, take my card, take Wayne's, and let us know if we can do anything for you. And any questions? Cool. Well,
Thank you.
we'll bring Nate up, and thanks again to Nate for putting this on, and the City of Fallon for helping out with the location. And yeah, I'm turning it over to Nate.
All right.
I want to thank Blacklands Railroad and Black Gold Terminal area as well. They were a speaker sponsor, as well as our other business council members that were, as I mentioned, Telegraph Coffee and Tap for this morning. We have lunch coming soon. Lisa? Okay. Provided by City of Fallon, but to cap everything here, I'm going to call up, T-Bone, I guess now, right? As he sat there, as he opened it up and he sat there and digested everything that we've had here, I expect some nuggets of wisdom. And if you saved your hard questions, please, T-Bone is ready.
You bet.
And
I guess I should explain how I got that name. In high school baseball, we went Arlington. I grew up in Arlington. Was the one high school town. That's how long I've been. And that's where the Cowboys play. We used to play Wichita Falls, which is 90 miles. And I was lucky enough as a sophomore to make the big team. And we, after the game, we stop at the cafeteria, and the coach says, "Now be very judicious what you get." Of course, I ordered a T-bone steak. I was on the blacklist. I was running laps for the next 2 months, and that's where I got my name. Nice talking. Hope you learned a lot about the complexity of the ag sector, and also some of the complexities we have, and these insurance programs that can help us get over that time period. I was talking to Walter, who was in Sulphur Springs. My mother grew up in these Texas towns, Grand Saline, Texas. My dad, Wills Point. They're real. Sulphur Springs you can smell Sulphur Springs for 90 miles. But I hope you learned a lot. If you, this is one issue we try to talk about, looking at our ag sector. It goes up and down a lot, but we try to get more information. And George and all the guys from Texas A&M have been very helpful in that we work to have a representative ranch and dairy in that model, so when there's farm bills come about, they can have a little bit of what happens in the state of Nevada, because it's not uniform. Sometimes they'll come up with some policies that sound looks very good for Louisiana. They're very detrimental to here. So that's one of the good things that we have with this modeling and expertise. Anybody got any more questions you'd like to ask of the presenters? If not, we will have lunch, and then I don't know if I've seen any of the dairymen. We're updating the model. I have some of them said they were coming at 1. If you're already here, please come by and see me, and we'll start updating our model at 1 o'clock. I want to really thank Nate. You did a real good job in getting it set up. They did a lot of work, and I think it's a very great success for the inaugural summit. Thank you, Nate.